Now from Downing Street. Beth, your readout of that, about 45 minutes or so.
Well, look, I've been to a lot of prime ministerial speeches in the many years I've been doing this job, and that was genuinely the gravest I have ever seen him. It felt like quite a heavy moment, and he seemed very stony-faced as he set out both the UK position, but made clear what the situation we are in looks like. And I say that because what the Prime Minister was doing in that speech was trying to talk about de-escalation, containment, trying to work with the US, who he said was a close ally, to try and resolve this Greenland crisis. But there was also a very clear acknowledgement from the Prime Minister that he will not back down, that the rule of law and the UK values are what drive him, and that he cannot back down should President Trump proceed in his threats to take over Greenland and illegally annex a country. And if you think about President Trump as a president which is using the law of power, we have a Prime Minister, a former human rights lawyer, that still cares about the power of law and the rule of law. So there is a clear schism here, and it could be very profound, with very, very profound consequences. I asked him a couple of questions. The first one really was to put into context how serious this moment is, and the second one was to ask him about how the UK might respond if these tariffs come in 10 days' time. And this is what he had to say. Let's have a listen. Many people watching this at home will have been shocked and angry over the weekend that our so-called closest ally is threatening us if we try to stop him illegally annexing Greenland. Is this the most serious crisis in the transatlantic relationship in decades? And how can the US remain our closest ally when it's bullying us like this? And just on tariffs, you say they are completely wrong and it will hurt the British economy. But if Trump does go ahead, to be clear, are you telling the British people that we will have to take that economic pain, and are you planning retaliatory tariffs if that happens? Thank
you, Beth. And firstly, to underscore your point, this has been very badly received across the United Kingdom. We're allies of the United States, and we work closely with them, and therefore I'm not surprised by the reaction that's been across the United Kingdom, and it is a very serious situation. Our job is to ensure that we find a way forward consistent with our principles and our values and consistent with our national interest. And the US remains a close ally on defence, on security and on intelligence, on nuclear capability. We work very closely with the United States, and we must never lose sight of our national interest in that. But we must stand up for our values. We must be clear about the principles that we are applying here, and we'll continue to do so. On the question of tariffs, a tariff war isn't in anybody's interests, and therefore what I want to do is to avoid a tariff war, because it will be businesses, workers and families across the country that will be hit by a trade war, and therefore I will do as I've set out, which is to engage with our European allies, with President Trump. And Chris, in response to the second part of your question, I spoke to President Trump yesterday, as I think you all know, and I'll no doubt speak to him again in coming days. Continually, our offices talk all the time, but we must find a pragmatic, sensible, sustained way through this that avoids some of the consequences that will be very serious for our country.
So the Prime Minister there, taking a different approach actually from the European Union. They're putting together a package of potentially 93 billion of retaliatory tariffs. Those leaders will be meeting President Trump at the Davos summit later this week. And clearly they want to negotiate an agreement, but they are taking a stick with them. our Prime Minister there shying away from any commitment to retaliatory tariffs. I don't think he's actually ruling them out. He's just saying it's not in anyone's interest, and he's swerving the question. And why is he doing that? He's trying to take the same approach he's always taken, which is keep the dialogue open, don't engage in a war of words, don't take up the temperature, try to dial things down. But there are some profoundly disturbing things that could come from this. If, as Scott Bessent, the US Treasury Secretary, said yesterday, that President Trump does want control of Greenland, that he doesn't believe the Europeans can protect this island in the high north, which is a massive security interest to the US. If he doesn't believe that the Europeans can protect it, he does want to take control of it, then we could be entering a very difficult period. Indeed, it could start off with tariff wars. It could end up with the disintegration of NATO. It could even see troops from the US potentially even going into Greenland. Now, Prime Minister Starmer there said he didn't believe that there was any plans for military action from the US, but I'm painting this picture just to give you a sense of how profoundly worrying this moment is. And while Keir Starmer clearly wants to negotiate his way out of it, believes he can, if President Trump is immovable on that basic fact that he wants to take control of Greenland, then really the UK and the US will be in a massive split over this, and the ramifications of that for the transatlantic alliance, not just with the UK and the US, but also with the rest of Europe, is going to be extremely profound. So I think what you've seen today is a Prime Minister trying to contain and de-escalate, but really this is beyond his control.